Hello Heart of Tarot and hello my mystery school. Today I wanted to have a look at the lesson behind the coronavirus. Now we know this virus is connected with the astrological big event of the year, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction. And with that really big push of energies, the lesson behind it for everyone is that mistrust of authority. Pluto rules the underworld. It also rules viruses. And Saturn rules restriction, authority, responsibilities. Both Pluto and Saturn are connected with karma. And Pluto's a very slow-moving planet, so it has a generational effect. It affects whole generations. And while it's moving through a sign, it just grinds up all we knew and all we thought that was safe and real. It brings up the underworld of that sign. So in Capricorn, it's been digging up the whole idea of materialism, wealth, corruption, power, the status quo. So the virus was first detected in China during that time of the conjunction in early Jan, or late December actually. And by Jan 11, when that conjunction was solid, the news had got out. By Jan 25, on the following moon, which was also Chinese New Year, the lockdown of Wuhan had begun and the world was in restriction. So I'm really wondering, what is the lesson if it's connected to this big transgenerational event of Pluto and Saturn conjunct in Capricorn? We also want perspective with this. The coronavirus has a relatively low death rate, less than 2%. And that means 98% or more than 98% of people recover. You know, a reality check is 61,000 people in the US died of flu between 2017 and 2019. So the challenge with coronavirus, or this particular one, COVID-19, is that it's got a 14-day incubation period. And that compares to 3 to 10 days for a usual cold or flu. The second thing is that it transfers relatively easily with contact. So the same precautions for any cold or flu apply. Wash your hands, cough into your elbow, stay home if you're feeling sick, don't go into the office. And keep your immune boosted with vitamin C or homeopathics or olive leaf or whatever it is that keeps your immune system boosted. The same thing you do when it's flu season or there's a bug going around the office. I'm concerned that the real pandemic is fear. So I want to have a look. What is the lesson of the coronavirus? First card will be a signifier for the virus itself. It's 5 of Pentacles. I'll put it up there. Actually, put it over there. Have a look. 5 of Pentacles is the poverty card, being left out in the cold, feeling that you don't have enough, turning your back on spirituality, just worried about the snow and the rain and the hardship. So the essence of this virus is dealing with our state of abundance, how we share, and what connections we need to actually feel wealthy. Because in this card, material wealth is being denied. So that's kind of interesting. Center card, the Empress. Again, this theme of abundance. The lesson is how we treat the earth. The lesson is how we share abundance and how creative we can be. What crosses that, so what blocks it, is justice. So we haven't been making good decisions around our resources. This looks like, time to pay the piper. That's exactly what Saturn and Pluto together are all about, karmic justice. So we're in a position to balance the scales, but it needs clear action, it needs logic, It needs fairness. And with this card, the right thing always happens. So if you haven't acted well, justice will fall on that side. If you've done all you can, justice will favour you. What we have below, so underneath us, the Six of Swords, trying to move to better times, left with our thoughts on this. How do we move from this? Potentially on a large scale level, this is also immigration, refugees, and that whole crisis that began, well, ever since humans have been on Earth, with war, with displacement. So underneath, we've got this shift in populations, this shift of trying to organise our thoughts and flee to a better place. In the past, the Four of Pentacles, stuck in our ways of insecurity around the material. This is exactly what's going on in Australia with our toilet paper crisis. The supermarket shelves are being cleared of toilet paper, tissues, and everything connected to wiping your bum. So the overall lesson is looking at that hoarding, that insecurity that you don't have enough. And again, this brings up this guy up the top, where we're moving into the Five of Cups, which is sorrow and loss. So the way the justice is falling is we haven't been dealing with emotions. We haven't been dealing with treasuring what we have at the time. And justice is pulling us to really grieve what we have and become grateful for what we have. In this card, we have the bridge in the background crossing over these troubled waters. 5 is a restless number. It moves through. We also know with this card, there are 2 things over here that this person's turned their back on. So there are opportunities and a bridge, support or a way out. We are not alone. In this card and this card, they both feel very alone. But the Empress in the middle, the signifier, is saying everything is in creation, everything is connected. Over the top, we have the Five of Swords. Wow, all these swords. Now that is nastiness. That's what's filtering down. That's competitive, win at all costs, neglecting the feelings, the loss, neglecting the needs of others. This is competitive thinking and competitive thoughts, and it's verbal abuse, and it's on a personal level. And in this card, everyone loses. So it's also the way, looking at the way we treat each other when we're in this place of lack. Now, the last time there was a Pluto-Saturn conjunction and a stellium of planets in Capricorn was in, I think, 1248. So 800 years ago. And they were the dark ages. They were really dark. In some way, maybe this is like an ancestral replay or an ancestral memory of those very dark times. But we have to remember where we are now is so lucky and fortunate, and the earth will keep on giving if we don't stifle her resources. The card here I'm going to put is, what is the lesson on a personal, physical, material scale? Oops. 3 of Swords. Dealing with loss and heartbreak, dealing with betrayal. This may go back on a personal level to feeling betrayed by our leaders. And this is a time when good leaders would be really useful. This virus is about feeling ripped off. On an emotional level, the lesson is 6 of Pentacles, knowing how to share, knowing how to balance things. Now, one of my issues with this card is I feel this archetype is changing or is ready to change. It's always shown with someone above handing out to those on their knees. I feel that these people are now ready to rise up, and sharing is something that's done without losing, without having to be in an elevated status. It's about really bringing in that equality. So on an emotional level, this virus is teaching us how to balance and share what we have. On a mental level, the Tower, this is the panic. This is that crashing down of structures. On a mental level, our fear, we're feeling that we can't hold this back. And mentally, we're putting ourselves through a much harder time than perhaps we need to. But also, our mental structures have to really break. Our thoughts and attitudes are what need to change in order for this social change to come through. And I guess this Tower on us mentally, that's what's bringing out this fight or flight. You know, hurt someone else before they hurt you. This is a very petty card. It's such a shame it's on the top, because that's what's overriding everything here. The lesson of this virus on the spiritual level, so on the level of the collective, 3 of Wands, how we connect. The world is really one place. We are really connected. This card is about trade and commerce, and looking over at travel. There's all the boats lined up, all the ocean liners that are in quarantine. It's looking at how we share resources again, and how we depend on faraway places for those resources. On a spiritual level, we are asked to expand. And it's in early stages. So we can still put a lot of input into this. The next card in the Wands series, the 4 of Wands, is stepping through a threshold, allowing people to enter and go as they need, as they please, as is required. So in some ways this is moving, looking at our borders. And I come back again to this with what happened with that huge shift of the world's population having to flee from war. And in this reading, this card makes me think we may be having more of this type of experience on a collective level, where people have to shift, huge populations have to move from where they are. Potentially that's climate crisis. It's war and hardship in whatever form. In the environment, we have the 7 of Cups, the illusion and delusion card. We've been living in a bubble. And this is big wake-up call to that. But, you know, we mustn't turn our backs on the spirituality and what we have. We mustn't turn our backs on dreaming. It also makes me look across here and see all this holding on and gripping tightly to material things. In the end, what has it got you? The hopes and fears, 5 of Wands. How many wands? 1, 2, 3. That's all of the 5s. So 4 times 4, 5. 5 is the card of change. We are in the midst of change. The cards cannot spell it out clearer. We've got the Tower down here, and we've got 5, that midpoint of a cycle. The hopes and fears is the confusion, the miscommunication, the people feeling out of control because they haven't got a grip on information. There's also blocks and delays, and this will be working on these fears. In a positive way, the 5 of Wands is working out your differences, nutting things out, being able to collaborate and really debate ideas and find a common way with sort of more friendly sparring than sending pipe bombs or trolling. So the outcome, the intended outcome for this lesson, the Princess of Swords. Now in this deck there are both princes and princesses. So this is a masculine and a feminine archetype for the pages. So our Princess of Swords is representing the younger generation, the rebels, the ones who just want to get it done without having to worry about red tape or bureaucracy. The younger generation is saying the time is now. Because we've lost our trust in authority, and it's moving too slow for us, the outcome of this is not taking things into your own hand. As Steve Judd said, he's not after anarchy or disruption, he is after social change. And we need to listen to the ideas and the words of younger people. They are the ones that are breaking out of this mould. They are the ones that are hearing the signals. And they're the ones that we're handing this over to. So they have every right, they have justice, that's part of the justice, to be included in this debate. Now, because it's International Women's Day today, and happy International Women's Day to everyone, and in praise of all the women and the mothers and the banshees and the healers who fought for us to have equality. Because it's International Women's Day today, I'm going to draw one goddess card. It's an oracle card. Just the goddess that is overseeing and guiding this lesson around this pandemic. Because I suspect the pandemic is being stuck in the old ways and the fear. Certainly that's what's showing here. A goddess to guide us. Who can help us? Yemaya. Surrender. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? Look at that. There we go. Now, in my head, I was thinking the goddess Chariklo, who is a sea nymph, and they don't have a card for Chariklo in this deck. She is a solstice goddess, and one of her themes is she's so joyful and beautiful and full of life. One of her themes is that she dissolves all your worries in water. I guess the metaphor for that is this emotional connection and that connection we have as one family. So in my head, I'm thinking Chariklo. She's the goddess I would like to oversee this. And they're not dissimilar. Chariklo was the wife and partner of Chiron. She fostered all the children and the gods and the foundlings of the ancient worlds. She taught them, she healed them. She's got psychic sight. And her great gift is that midwife ability to hold space, to hold sacred space while transformation is happening. So this is a card of hope. And I don't believe the universe ever lets us down. We're never given something more than we can cope with. So prayers and love and support to the people of Wuhan who are still under lockdown and all the other people in self-imposed isolation. We wish you the best and we know we will get through this. The lesson here isn't death. The lesson is renewal and learning to share, learning to deal with change. We are shifting through. I'm Merryl Key, and this is the Heart of Tarot and my Mystery School. If you'd like to contact me, go through my website at www.merrylkey.com.